Hello my friends, and welcome to this next video in the series where we shall be discussing strings in JavaScript. We have already seen that we can create a string and even assign that string to a variable. So we said something like let first name equals Dominic. We have also said something like let middle name equals Iberi. In the first case, we've used single quotes to write our string. In the second case, we use double quotes to write our string. So these two ways of writing strings are valid in JavaScript. So if you decide to use the single quotes, that is okay. Just make sure you use it throughout your code. If you decide to use the double quotes, that is also okay. Just make sure you use it throughout your code. Also, we can add semicolons to end our statement right here. Like I said before, this is no longer necessary in JavaScript. You can decide to add a semicolon or leave it out entirely. It is just up to us. Now, the next way we can bring in strings in JavaScript is through the use of backticks. So I can say let last name equals, and I give a backtick. This backtick is directly under your escape key on your keyboard. So within the backtick, I can say Okonkwo, which is my last name. So these are the three ways we can write out strings in JavaScript and even assign them to a variable. If we use the double quotes or the single quotes to write our strings in JavaScript, they are known as string literal, and they're exactly the same thing. It is just a matter of choice. But if we use the backtick to represent our string or to write out our string, it is known as template literal. And template literal gives us a whole lot of features to work with strings. And we shall look at those features. The features that template strings have over the double quotes or the single quotes way of writing string comes in when we discuss concatenation, which is about adding strings together. We also see it when we want to write out multi-line strings in JavaScript. So in these two respects, using the template literals actually gives us some powers. Let's look at an example. First of all, let me create another variable and say let behavior equals is a good guy, like so. Now, let's look at how we can concatenate some of these strings to form a larger text. So let me create another variable and say let about Dominic equals, and then what I want to do is say Dominic is a good guy. So I want to concatenate first name and behavior together. So how do I do that? I can say first name plus behavior, like so. So if I'm to console.log about Dominic, I'm going to say Dominic is a good guy right here. So let me save this file and then go to my console so that we can see the results. So right here, we can actually see that about Dominic gave us Dominic is a good guy. The is joined with Dominic. So there is no space between Dominic and is. And in fact, let me pull my VS Code and my Safari together so that we can see both screens at the same time. So right here is my VS Code, and on the right is my Safari browser, and we're right here in the console. So what if we wanted to add a space between this Dominic and is a good guy? So after first name, you can just say plus and then give a quotation mark containing the space. You can say quotation mark like this, and then plus behavior. So we have first name plus empty quotation mark plus behavior. So right now, when I check out what Dominic is again, I'm going to see that about Dominic becomes Dominic is a good guy with some space right here. So let me save this file and I'm going to check it out on the browser. So this time we're seeing that Dominic is a good guy has been printed on the console. But sometimes when we want to write strings and join them like this, imagine we are joining a whole lot of variables together. So we have to do them like this, and we also have to add this space like so. So there has to be spacing so that the text is written clearly. But if we were to use template literal, that is backtick, so we can say something like, first of all, I introduce the backtick and I say curly braces. I give the curly braces right here. So instead of this curly braces, I'm going to type out first name like so. But then this first name or this braces, the opening curly braces, should be preceded by a dollar symbol like so. Also, the spacings that we have inside of a backtick will be respected. So I'm going to close off this so that there won't be any space at the beginning of Dominic. Okay, so right here it says Dominic. So after writing Dominic, I give a space like so. So this space that I'm giving here will be respected because I'm using backtick to join things like that. I don't need to say plus spacing like this. I don't need to say this since I'm using the backtick. I can just directly give the space like this. So next up, I'm going to write the behavior. So I'm going to say dollar and then write the opening and closing curly braces. And within that, I'm going to have behavior. So we're going to have Dominic is a good guy. I'm going to save this and preview this on my console and we'll see what we get. So when I type about Dominic, I get Dominic is a good guy once more. In using backtick, we can actually join variables like this. We just need to precede curly braces with dollars, and inside of the curly braces, we write the name of our variable. And then if we have a space here, that space is going to be respected. Also, we can join strings together with variable. We can join raw strings together with variables. So we can say Dominic, the tall guy, and then I want to say something about Dominic, the tall guy. So I can say plus behavior, like so. So Dominic, the tall guy, plus behavior. This right here is going to print Dominic, the tall guy, is a good guy. All right, so I'm going to save, and then let me check what this about Dominic will give us on the browser's console. So now let me check about Dominic. And right here you can see I have Dominic, the tall guy, is a good guy. Again, this is and guy, they're joined together, right? Because I do not have space here, so I have to give space plus empty space like so, plus behavior. So I have to write it like this: Dominic the tall guy plus this empty space right here plus behavior. So let me save this and preview on our browser's console. So now we're having Dominic the tall guy is a good guy. But what if we were to use template string to print out this thing? What do we get? So let me use template string. So let me say let's about Dominic, or let me make it short, let about Dom equals, then I give the template string, and I say the Dominic I know, and then I want to write is a good guy, right? So behavior is right here, so I want to concatenate this with behavior right here. So I'm going to say just give a space and then introduce a dollar symbol and the curly braces, and then I'm going to say behavior. So this is going to say the Dominic I know is a good guy. So right here I don't need to introduce the empty quotation mark because I'm using template literal. So let me save this and preview on our browser's console. So if I check about Dom, it's going to say the Dominic I know is a good guy. So you can see using the template string can make writing your string shorter and more efficient. So you don't have to have many plus empty quotation marks. Now, the next thing about using the template literal is that we can have multi-line text. Right here in the console, I'm going to demonstrate that. So let me say, let name equals, then I'm going to use a single quotation mark to try to write something like Dominic. And then I want to press enter on my keyboard so that I can have a multi-line text. As soon as I press enter, we have syntax error. So it means that we're not supposed to have multi-line text when we use the single quotation mark, and in fact the double quotation mark also, because they're both the same thing. So if I say let school name, the name of my school, equals UNN, and I want to say UNN is a great school, I want to press enter and continue, I'm going to get this syntax error again. Okay, so it means that we're not supposed to have multi-line text when we're using the single quote string or the double quote string. But what happens when I try to use the template literal, that is the use of backtick? So I can say let about my school equals, and I use a backtick, which is used to write template literal. So I can say my school is and then I press enter. You can see there is no error. So I can say my school is a great school. Press enter again. It is on a beautiful, and I press enter, island. So after I'm done, I can just close it off with a closing backtick like so. And as soon as I click on enter, you see that the way I've written this text will be printed out on the console the exact same way. So now you can see when I check about my school, now we have my school is a great school. It is on a beautiful island, the exact same way. So this is a multi-line text, and we can use backtick, that is template literal, to write such a text. So these are the two features that template literals have over the single quotes or the double quotes. Now let me clear my console and show us once again that we cannot embed this kind of code inside of a string that has the double quotation or the single quotation marks. Okay, that is the string literals. We cannot use this sort of code inside of string literals. So inside my console, let me say let country equals Biafra right here. Let country equals Biafra. So let me declare a variable. Let sentence equals, and I open my single quotation this time, and I give the curly braces preceded by dollar symbol. Okay, so I say country. So I want to say Biafra is a beautiful country. So I want to say country right here. I type out the country right here and I say is a beautiful country. Like so. So right now I'm trying to use this sort of code inside of my single quotation marks, and this is not going to work when I try to print out the value of sentence. So let me say sentence. Okay, now it says country is a beautiful country. It gives me back the exact same thing, and that's because I'm not using a template literal. Instead, I'm using a single quote. So if I were to change this thing to a template literal, then it's going to print out Biafra instead of printing out the exact same thing that I've given here. So let's try that out and see. So I'm going to reassign sentence and say sentence equals, and then this time around I'm going to use the backtick. So I'm going to say backtick and then my dollar symbol. Let's say country is a beautiful country, like so, and I close it with the end of the backtick. And when I check, you see Biafra is a beautiful country. So this time around it's printed Biafra, and that's because I used the backtick. So we can see that this sort of code can truly only be used with the backtick. Okay, so right now let me clear out my browser's console and show us one more useful feature that the template literal has over the single quote or the double quote way of writing string. So sometimes we want to have quotes instead of our text, right? So I want to say something like let's quotes or quotation, anyone you like, equals she said I am a good guy. So what's happening here? You can see that this word I am has an apostrophe right here, right? Something like a quote. So the browser or the VS Code thinks that we've ended our quote right here. And so it doesn't understand what this is, okay? So sometimes we want to have this sort of quote instead of our code. How do we do that? We actually have some solutions that we can implement. The first one being that we can escape this quote right here. So the browser knows that this is not the end of the quote. So how do we escape that? We come here and we say backward slash, like so. In this way, we're telling JavaScript, our code, to actually ignore this quote right here. We're telling that it is not the end of this sentence here, right here. It is not the end of this string right here. Rather, here is the end of the string. So you should ignore this one. So this is how we can have quotes in our string. So let me save this and print quotation on the console. So right here, let me print out quotation. So you can see that we have, she said, I'm a good guy. And the quote we have here actually shows. Let's get back to our VS Code. So we've been able to escape these quotes successfully. So how did we do that? First of all, this string was written using the single quotes, all right? So, and then we can escape things right here. Now we can see that this string was created using the single quotation marks. And here we're able to escape this. But we can also, instead of using single quotation marks, we can use double quotation marks, like so. And here we can say, she said, I am a good guy. So you can see there is no problem here. It will not complain because, first of all, this string started off with the double quotation marks. Instead of here, we have single quotation marks. So we don't need to escape this one since it's a single quotation mark. But if we were to use double quotation marks like this, then there will be a problem as we had earlier on. So I'm going to use the single quotation mark again. So since it started with the double quotation mark, we can just simply use the single quotation mark right here. We don't need to escape this. All right. Now, a more better solution to this is the use of template literal, because template literal is neither single quotation or double quotation mark. So let me say let quotes equals, then I use my backtick. So I'm going to use template literal and I'm going to say, she said, I am a good guy. So let's try to check out this quotation and quote on the console. I'm going to save my file and go back to our browser's console. So right here, let me print out quotation. And now it says, she said, I'm a good guy, with the single quotation mark showing here. And if I print out quotes, it does say, she said, I'm a good guy. So we can see that in this way, the template literal is far more superior. We can just simply write any text we want to write. So that is how we can have quotes within our text of string. Let's get back to our VS Code. Now, the last thing I would like to show us is how to actually get an input from the user. So if I come here and say, let user input equals prompt. So we can use the prompt function to actually get something from the user. We want the user to type out something on the browser. So we use the prompt and we can leave a message that says, please type your name. So we want the user to type his or her name. Now, let me store the value of whatever it is that the user is going to type here in another variable. So I can say, let name user, that is the user's name, equals user input. Now I'm going to save this and let's go to our browser. So as soon as I refresh, I get a prompt saying, please type your name. So I'm going to type Dominic Ebere and I'm going to click OK. As soon as I click OK, now I have access to the name user, which is Dominic Ebere. So we see that we're able to collect an input from the user. We're able to do that using the prompt function. We've seen a whole lot of function. Very soon in our series, we're going to start to talk about functions, how to write our own functions. But these functions, such as prompt, such as console.log, such as document.write, such as typeof, they're all functions provided to us by JavaScript. And this one is used to collect some sort of input from the user. And that input, we can assign it to another variable and have access to that variable. So this, my friends, brings us to the first part of strings in this video. Next video, we're going to look at some of the manipulations, very simple manipulations that we can do with strings. Please like, share my videos, and even subscribe to my channel. It's going to go a long way in helping me to create these courses. See you in the next video.